Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am building something that I have never built before, so you are definitely coming along on an exploratory journey with me as I try and figure this out as I go. I am a teacher by day, and for the past 18 years I have been teaching junior high kids, so that's like from 11 years old to 14 or 15. And one thing that I like to do in my classroom is try and incorporate things that they like into my lessons so that they'll buy in more. And one of the things that I've noticed over the past couple of years is a resurgence of anime and manga. So as I'm trying to understand where they're coming from and see what they like, I've kind of gotten into it myself. And I've got a couple little pop vinyls and some manga and a whole bunch of other stuff in my classroom as decorations that kids have been asking me, Mr. Hanna, are you an anime fan? And I guess the answer is yes. So I was trying to think of a build video, and all that kept ringing in my head this week was, Mr. Hanna, are you an anime fan? Anime fan, anime fan. Let's make some fans with anime characters on them. That's the game plan. Let's get to building. For those of you who have been here for a while, you may recognize what these are and what video they were bought for. For those of you who are new here or may have missed my wand making video, these are pen blanks intended to make fancy fountain pens. I bought a ridiculous amount of them because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted for that build. Now I have dozens of them that I need to find purposes for. I'm going to use them as the handle for my fans in this build. I have desert ironwood, olive wood, colored plywood, and a number of various resin mixes. I picked out a few that I think would look good for this project and sized them up next to what will connect my fan handles to my main body. Because the handle size is small, I scoured Amazon for what I could use to extend a slot on the top, and I stumbled across an idea of using glass shelf brackets. They come in all shapes and sizes, and best of all, give me a screw hole that I can go into the handle with and a set screw that I can use to hold the body with. I'm not going to go too crazy with the shape of the handles, as they're already pretty interesting with the patterns in the resin or the grains in the wood. I am just going to round over the corners with my rotary tool to make them more comfortable to hold. I would recommend wearing a respirator and working in a well-ventilated area while sanding resin or wood. Otherwise, you'll be sneezing 7 different colors, and that's kind of hard to explain. Plus, you'll feel a bit congested. Just take my word for it. Once my shape is where I want it to go, I go through various grits of sandpaper, starting at 240 grit and going all the way up to 1500. Being small and simple in shape, I was able to make pretty quick work of it with about an hour or so into shaping and sanding each handle. I super glued and screwed my glass shelf bracket to the top of my buffed out handles, and I'm now ready to work on the body of my fans. I cut out various shapes on my laser cutter into some 1/8 inch plywood. I also cut smaller versions of each shape to thicken up the attachment point of the fan to the handle, and hopefully this will make it more sturdy. I super glue the smaller bits to the center of each side of the main body and round over the edges with some more sanding. If you wanted to skip all the fan making, you could just buy fan blanks on on Amazon to kind of streamline this build, but I like the task of trying to make something from nothing. It's especially fun to use parts that are not intended for what you're using them for. It's an exercise in creativity to try and think outside the box with your materials. I drilled a hole into each of the fans and am now going to run a wire through them so that I can handle them while I'm spray painting the base layers outside. These holes will be covered with the brackets that hold them in place, so you won't see them in the end result. Once all of them are wired up, I take them outside and I do a painting fade on each of them using 3 transitioning colors. So here are my blanks. I went online and looked up some of the animes that my kids had told me were their favorites over the past couple of weeks and picked 2 characters from each of them. I went with Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, Naruto, and Dragon Ball Z. I'm going to refrain from trying to pronounce all the names of these characters, but you can ask an anime fan who they are so that I don't butcher it with my southern accent. I cut out the outline of the first one with a pair of scissors, thinking that it would help me to at least get the perimeters of my character, but I quickly abandoned this, and after the first drawing, I just freehanded the entire characters. Once the pencil was laid down, I went back over all of my lines with a black acrylic paint pen. With the paint pens already out and the lack of desire to mix dozens of colors for these 8 characters that I'm about to paint, I decided to take an easier route and just use acrylic paint pens for all the coloring on these. As you can see from the tote in the top left corner, I have a very large collection of colors from Posca, Yono, Sharpie, Pablos, Molotow, U-Mark, Painters, and Elmer's. Basically, I just buy whatever's on sale. They all have similar qualities and characteristics. Some may be better than the other, but that's a whole different argument. I feel like I have a little better control with them than I do with a paintbrush. Once I fully color the characters in their base colors, I find lighter tints or darker shades of each color to add my highlights and shadows. Then once that is done, I retrace all my black lines to make my outlines pop again. Now is the moment of truth, assembly time. It's a pretty simple assembly process, and then all I have to do is match the fan body up to its handle and tighten down the set screw. I thought about epoxying them into place within the bracket, but I felt like the connection was good enough mechanically with that little screw. Plus, if I decide to sell these fans, I could fit them into a much smaller package, and I would be able to protect them better for transit. I hope you enjoyed this little build and consider doing your own fan art with the art of your choice. It doesn't have to be anime, and there's a lot of other ways that you could go about decorating the bodies. Please share this with a friend. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for another how-to video. Bye. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think they turned out pretty cool. Definitely getting that anime vibe going. I don't know that I did all of them justice. I think my Goku could probably use a little bit of work, but for freehanding things onto a piece of wood and then painting it with only using like acrylic paint pens, I think I did a pretty good job. Maybe you will try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull something from your favorite manga, put it on a fan, and then use it to cool yourself down and be cool. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some... Yay! And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. I mean, it's not a weapon per se, but let's be real, it does look like something that could hit you in the face, so prepare yourself. Ha! If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and you'd like to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.